In 2004, Tom and Jackie Hawks, this couple, they've been living on their boat or their yacht for 2 years down in San Diego. They decide that they want to sell it because they were having a grandson in Prescott, Arizona.
Uh-huh.
So on the front of their boat, it says Prescott, Arizona, badass. Right. So they wanted to put up their boat. So instead of going through a broker, they wanted to do it themselves because they were saving money and whatnot. When they bought it in 2002, it was $300,000. And when they sold it, they got $435,000. Well, they were going to get $435,000 out of it. So this kid, they post it, and this kid fucking responds to it, and they're like, what the fuck? Like a kid's responding, I don't know. But he said he was a childhood actor, and he knew some of the roles that he was in. He was an extra, actually, on the Power Rangers. It turns out his best acting was like lying.
Yeah, I think I heard this story, but yeah, go ahead.
So they go out, and they're like, oh, I don't know, man. But he brings his wife, his daughter, and his wife's pregnant. So them getting ready to have a grandchild, they're like, oh, this is comforting. Okay. And he said he was an actor, being from California, like that's not uncommon. And so they go to do a trial air, like take it out on the water,
right?
Like
test drive.
Yeah, pretty much like you do with a car.
Right.
And so they go out and they have this party like the night before they go to take this test drive and shit. And they're with their buddies, and they're telling them, oh, we're one last hurrah. We love this boat, but we want to go see our family and spend time in Arizona. And when they go to take this test drive the next morning, he shows up with a dude named Alonzo and a big old black dude named John F. Kennedy.
Right.
And so they're like, what the fuck? But they're like, okay, whatever. And he's telling them it's his accountant or whatever. And they take him out on this boat, and, they're out there all day, and their friends get a call and say, I don't know what's taking so long, but we're still out here on this trial run. And so next thing you know, like no one's heard from them, and they can't figure it out. They're like, maybe they sold this boat. Like maybe they just went off somewhere to celebrate, but after a few days, like no one hearing from them, their family not hearing from them, their friend goes and checks out their boat that's docked, and it's kind of in disarray. And these people kept it like immaculate,
right?
And it's kind of a little disarray. There's like a towel hanging out of one of the window ports and shit. Like what the fuck? So now they start getting suspicious. So this guy was, Tom was like a high school wrestler. He's a pretty fucking fit dude. He was a probation officer. His wife was a fit freak, and so it was kind of like, had to be tough to overpower him. But I guess they went down into the cabin, Tom did, and that's where JFK and Skylar attacked him and fucking got him with like a taser and fucking tied him up. And then Alonzo upstairs like took her down, and then they fucking tied him up, and they took him upstairs and made him sign power of attorney over to him.
Oh shit.
So now they had all their assets too.
Right.
And she like left the S off of her name. She just put Jackie Hawk. So that's how they kind of started,
catching on with, okay.
So they couldn't find him. And so they posted him like all over. And some dude in Mexico fucking hit him up and was like, I think I seen this fucking, this SUV that you guys were looking for. Because they couldn't find their SUV either. And it's down in Mexico. So they go down there, and it was one of Skylar's old surfing buddies.
Oh shit.
Yes. And he's like, yeah, Skylar and Jackie, or Skylar and his wife, Jennifer, I think it was. They came over here and they gave me this vehicle, blah, 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 blah. And like, so they couldn't, so then they're like, oh, they must be fucking, dead. Well, they finally figure out that all this happened, right? And they find out like that they tied him up. And then after they got done fucking making him sign these power of attorneys, they tied him to the anchor. Then they threw the anchor off the side of the boat and watched them slide across the deck, hit the fucking side of the rail of the boat, and just go over into the water and plunge to their death. And like,
holy shit, they were still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, they were still alive.
I didn't hear about this one. That's different.
And
holy shit.
And so like his wife comes to find out, she just was stressed out about money, and they were going to rob the boat and sell it and have more money. You know what I mean?
Right.
because he was a failing actor. He only had like a couple parts, and they were shit. And like an extra couple times on Power Ranger, he was nothing. You know what I mean? So he gets locked up, and while he's awaiting trial, the motherfucker tries to cut off his fucking penis.
Oh yeah,
because he actually wanted to be a girl, and
that's where it was cool.
That's what he was trying to fund his.
So he was doing that to fund his transition.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
And it turned out,
so it's
they gave him death, right? And he's sitting on death row, and he got his transition, and he wants to be called a she now.
Oh, really? So this is just recently?
Yeah, in California, he got it.
Okay, yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So he did all of this. He killed those people so he could afford the
when he could have just been in prison and got it for free.
Got it for free. Wow.
What is that crazy?
But he's on death row, and they did it anyway.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. It. Yeah.
Back to the transition thing. Did you see? It was running around the internet for a little bit. This last week was a nonverbal autistic girl, and like I say, nonverbal, like no communication whatsoever, shakes back and forth, all of that shit. You know, the parents were able to get double mastectomy. What kind of crazy shit is this going on? I believe that was in California as well.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be? And the whole issue of prisoners getting transitions was actually a political issue in this election.
Oh, by the way, guys, happy inauguration!
Happy inauguration day!
Oh boy! How many people were upset with that?
Well, I'll tell you what. Down at the bar, several. Trump did do an executive action today where they have 90 days, I believe, to either sell TikTok to American servers like Oracle, which is an evil company. Oracle's a very evil company. They're it's a CIA company. If you know anything about Oracle, it's Larry Ellison. He was a CIA operative. Larry Ellison actually is one of the ones who made Oracle in the beginning in CIA, and of course they let him come out with a company for it. He's not a good actor. He's a bad guy. He owns the island off of Maui. They were said that those kids that all disappeared from fires and shit went straight there.
From the fires.
Maui was in Hawaii.
Oh.
He owns an island. 98% of that island.
Was that DEW weapons, you think?
I believe it was, yeah. I believe both.
The LA too?
LA as well.
Do you think they burned them down over Diddy? Over not Diddy himself, but protecting the underground tunnels that they had and whatnot?
From what I've seen, that may be a little part of it, but from what I've seen, what they're doing is wherever those fires were in LA, they want to put a speed rail system in.
So you think it's the 2028 plan?
Yeah, it's the Marshall Plan, cities and all of that bullshit.
Yeah, where they don't
with
no longer using cars.
And, Gavin Newsom came out and said just as much. You know, basically what he said was, we're going to have to rethink how we build this city this time. Blah blah blah. Instead of these people lost all their homes. You know, it's
he was like dancing around.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, and it's not the Pacific Palisades where all the wealthy, rich, elite live as much as it is the rest of the poors that burned. If you put a map of where they want to put those railways and shit above, right on top of that map, the burn area was all down there.
It's got like an 80% corollary.
Yeah,
like I've seen.
It's crazy.
It's very close.
now, is there a chance that was all natural? There's a chance.
But do you think that 3 fires was started all out by one person, like
at
knowing?
The same time?
Yeah,
and the government has said we have direct energy weapons that can start fires, and you know, look what they did in Australia during the protests right at the beginning of Biden's tenure, I believe it was, when Australians were protesting. They put those direct energy weapons on them, and they gave people 3rd-degree fucking burns on their skin, trying to disperse crowds. So you want to tell me they don't have this technology? They have it. Yeah. There were cars where the motor was melted. The aluminum, non-ferrous metal, was melted out of the vehicle.
But the tires do burn hotter because of rubber.
Not to be the whatever
devil's advocate.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was going 80 miles an hour. The wind
was, and that's what they said of Maui too.
Yeah,
they said 100.
How do you have cars that are burned out, houses that are annihilated, and then trees that are still standing
on the other side? Yeah,
right next to it.
Well,
it
trees
doesn't make sense.
Hold water. To be fair,
it's like they do
hold water.
Come on now.
It's like an old.
Do you know how hard it is to burn like a wet log? Come on,
I do. I know exactly how hard it is, and I've seen fires here in Arizona where there were wet trees and it just annihilates it all.
Sure.
These were back in the 90s and early 2000s, you know, like the fire up in Sholo and shit that went through there, burned 200-some thousand acres. And those trees are all gone.
And to be fair, it was particularly dry there too.
Yeah.
Staying over in California, but I don't know. It is kind of crazy. I don't think, here's the thing. Wouldn't you be able to see a direct energy weapon being deployed?
Not infrared.
No. How would you?
No.
You see a beam of light? Have you ever taken a magnifying glass as a kid
Of course.
to a piece of paper?
Of course.
Did you see the ray?
You see
Or
it on
did
the
you
paper.
just see
You see it on the
exactly.
paper.
So on the ground, are you going to see it when it's burning?
Right.
No, it's already too late, brother.
So, well,
You don't see that burn you. It just
fair,
burns you.
Fair, but you see lasers, right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
infrared.
You don't see
Not
laser.
IR, sure, unless you have IR
see
goggles.
something if there's particles in the way. You don't see it if it's clear.
See, and what you're saying is that's, yeah, maybe you would be able to see it like in the Maui fires. There were reports of lasers coming down.
But weren't there reports of that? Weren't there reports of that?
There were reports in Maui, not so much over in this fire, but there was also a report of a plane. It was right after the Maui fires or right before the Maui fires that was doing a scan with the green lasers coming down. And people saw the green lasers go across the land. And it was the same thing in Maui. They saw that right before the fires.
Ooh, green lasers. What if they put something down?
Maybe.
Drop something.
It's a weird thing.
Coded it, and then this is where we're hitting the fire.
Anybody who trusts this government, even now that Trump's in, there's a lot of bureaucrats that are still there that need to get gone. But anybody who trusts our government after the things that have happened over the last, just look at the declassified things, like the Tuskegee experiments on the black folks down in Alabama. They gave them syphilis, or they contracted syphilis, and then the doctors wouldn't let other doctors from outside the CIA give them any kind of help once we found the cure for syphilis, which is antibiotics, of course.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let them treat them. They just watched these people die.
It's just kind of like the AIDS.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson got cured in the 80s, and
Right.
we're still running around 2000s. Like,
Right. Well, and
it's cured now, right?
no, AIDS isn't cured, but
It just
it's
fucking-
manageable.
HIV is manageable. AIDS, once you get to that level, I think it's hard to go back to the HIV.
Yeah.
Just
Although it has happened because Magic Johnson did do that. He went from AIDS back to HIV.
All right, well, let's get off this subject because it is a touchy one.
It is, yeah. That's probably not one we want to put on.
But, here's the thing, though. Let's talk about Millie for a bit. I think our worst defeat we've had in, Vietnam would be Afghanistan. Which, believe me, I'm on your page, John, where we didn't really lose Vietnam. We just got bored and left.
One of them. We stacked bodies in those.
Okay. Well, Afghanistan's a little bit different because, we did actually, destroy the whole thing in 2 weeks. And we're like, all of our objectives are done. And then we just occupied it for 20 years anyway.
Right.
That's a little different.
You look at Mark Milley. He got a blanket pardon as well. And what he did was when the election stuff was going on, and Trump was claiming that there was election fraud and all of these things, had made the Space Force, and I guess the Space Force had come and showed some things that were not so good with China. And Mark Milley called his Chinese counterpart, a general over there, and said, if he tries to bomb you, this is treason. If he tries to bomb China over this,
He'd call him.
I'll give you a call ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
How is that not aiding and abetting the
That's
enemy?
treason.
That's treason.
And it might be technically sedition, but I know what you mean.
In a time of war, could you imagine a general calling? So in like World War II. So what if Rommel would have called Patton and said, "Hey, we're going to be over here"? That's treason. That's the definition of treason, and which is what Mark Milley did because China may not be an enemy state per se, not officially.
That's a good point.
Not in an active war, but they are definitely
an adversary. Yeah, a competitor.
Right, and which tells you also a lot about the elections. And I don't know how much we can say on YouTube about the elections.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do you consider the negligence on the border we had for 4 years sedition or treason?
I consider that sedition. And did you see the video today of the Eagle Pass Border Patrol?
No.
They were shoulder to shoulder, about 15 deep, all learned across the loudspeaker, saying there may be bodily harm if you try to cross now. They had their riot shields. They were shoulder to shoulder, 15 deep, and I don't know how many wide at the bridge. And they were saying trying to cross now can result in bodily harm. So they said it in English and then in Spanish.
Trump also said he's sending National Guard down there. He said that in his inaugurational address today.
And
you go.
Cartels are terrorists.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Baby. Which means that we can go to war with the cartel. I think what it'll be is any of these cartel members on this side of the border, especially like in El Paso and Phoenix, and Tucson, San Diego,
Aurora,
Santa Fe, Aurora. Yeah. What that means is that if the government catches wind of it, the DOD, the military, they'll send Delta or SEALs or somebody in there. That's what that'll do.
Oh, fuck.
Have you guys ever heard of the Sky Warden airplane? It's probably going to be the biggest tool for this operations. I think it's a crop duster that the American military like militarized. It carries bombs and missiles and stuff, and it's a prop plane.
See, I don't think they'll drop bombs on American.
Oh no, not on
Mexican
America.
soil.
Oh hell yeah!
You think they'll drop it on Mexican soil?
Definitely.
I don't think they will.
Especially ones, maybe not like high grade explosives, but like that thing we took out Soleimani with. We might the Ginzu bomb.
The Ginzu bomb, whatever it is. Yeah.
I'd send a couple of those.
Have you seen that? That's a wild fucking.
What is it?
It's
a missile, okay, and it comes off a Predator drone, is what it does. Usually in the Middle East, it did. And instead of having a warhead on it, what it does is it comes down and it's guided, of course, GPS guided. And there was one I saw a picture of a car.
Mm-hmm.
And basically 5 blades, like 6-foot blades, come out, and it'll cut somebody up. I think he got somebody on a balcony. It was what Trump was intending.
That's one of them. Yeah,
it's the size of a car.
It's
okay. Yeah, the blades are like it's like 6 feet of blades. 6 of them come out.
Yeah,
and it's almost an inert missile.
It's an inert missile. There's no explosives.
Yeah, all it does. Well, I mean, it still has some force. Yeah.
So basically, if we're all sitting here and you're a bad guy, that missile could come through your damn window and get you and leave
probably
us be.
Maybe probably I'll lose an arm.
Yeah, maybe lose an arm.
Well, if it's that big, yeah.
Another fun one. Trump wasn't even in office yet, and they already got a ceasefire and releasing hostages and. In the Holy Land, who saw that coming? Everyone,
yeah. what Trump said is, if they haven't released these people on my inauguration day, there will be hell to pay or hell.
There will be the greatest hell unleashed upon all of Gaza. Literally, nobody's ever seen such wrath.
Things would have been a lot different if the election would have went the other way as well. A lot different.
Escalation on all fronts.
What do you think would have happened?
Hypothetically, I think we'd all be in World War III right now. I think they would have drafted my son to
today. By today?
No,
I believe so. Yeah.
You think today?
If the election had gone the other way, the powers that be would have been able to escalate this into a nuclear conflict. Look at these fuckers. What do they get paid for? How do they get paid? They get paid by the war machine with the industrial complex.
Sure.
Yeah. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna go into their bunkers if that happens. And guess who? They don't give a shit about us. They never have. These elites. None of us. If you're not at their little dinner tables, they don't care about you.
I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
They don't even know you.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know you, and I don't care to know you.
All you are is a taxable number. So I do believe that if Kamala would have won, things would be a lot different in that conflict for sure. Israel as well. Did you see that Netanyahu didn't show up to Trump's inauguration?
Good.
Because Trump put that video out about Netanyahu last week about Netanyahu being a shithead or whatever.
Good. Honestly, like I think the United States needs to move away from Israel relations. Like we should have the same type of relations with Israel that we do with someplace like Canada.
Right.
That's the level of diplomacy and how we treat them. It should be on the level of Canada.
Did you hear about Alberta?
What?
The premier said that she's actually thinking about becoming the 51st state.
That's hilarious. I hope they do it. I'll take Calgary.
Really?
I'll take Calgary. I'll take that.
That's not like a big surprise.
Not at all.
And then that's also takes 40% of Canada's oil, like just at once, just boom.
Yeah. So you got Ottawa over there, or Quebec, or whatever the hell it is. I don't know.
Quebec might join us just to secede.
Over in Ottawa and all of that stuff, they were talking about how they were going to do tariffs on us on all of our energy and this and that and the other that we're sending there. And then here they got an entire province wanting to come down here, and the premier saying, "Yeah, we'll probably do that."
Sounds dope.
Yeah.
Have you heard the new agency we're going to make? The ERS.
Yes.
The External Revenue Service. Yeah, dude.
For tariffs and NATO and all of these other things.
I'm excited. We're almost face-off empire, and I'm enjoying it.
Right,
I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. They said that Bush was going to be this guy, but no, we finally got it. We're going to be like, we are the world police, and you're going to pay us for the privilege. It seems like that's what we're doing.
Yeah, if you want me to protect you, you're going to pay me to do so. If you can't protect yourself, you're going to pay me double. You know what I mean?
Terrific.
Yeah. Hey,
good.
I'm with it. It's a crazy time we're living in. It is actually really good to see Trump get in. A lot of people were worried that they were going to kill him before the inauguration. A lot of people were worried that the deep state was going to hold him out before the inauguration. And here we are. He's inaugurated, and everything went well. They did move it inside for the cold or whatever. It wasn't the cold. There was 2 more threats, I guess.
I'm sure.
Yeah. From what I saw, there were 2 more threats on his life, and
it's gone way too far.
Well,
Like,
what you're seeing is a bunch of people who have, it seems they
too much
have
power because they have too much money.
Well, on the left, they have these severe mental issues where they think violence is the way to do things. They can't commit violence themselves. In a real aspect, like we've seen leftists in town and shit when we're hanging out and whatnot. They're not going to come and beat you up. What they're going to do is they're going to
Set you on fire later.
sneak one in and shoot you, or something to that effect. It's not going to be coming from the front. These leftists, they don't hit you from the front. Where they hit you from is from behind or the side. It's a sneaky thing. When you see the Trump, the attempts on Trump's life, you had a guy hiding in a bush, with an SKS, and then you had the other guy. Some weirdo, and that's another thing that I'd like to see a lot of that come out too. Hopefully Trump does that, where they talk about the first assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Why didn't that guy have silverware in his house? And why don't we know anything about him? Why do we know more about the guy that assassinated he didn't assassinate anybody. He murdered the head of United Healthcare. But why do we know almost everything about that guy's life, but we know nothing about the guy who tried to take out the president? It's a weird thing. You know what I mean? And it's obviously
how many attempts have been on his life now?
Trump, at least 3.
At least.
There's 4. Someone threw a grenade at him, but didn't pull the pin.
Is he the most attempted assassination without actually having happened?
Of a president, he ties with Andrew Jackson.
I bet he's more.
No, because he got 2 when he was a candidate, not a president.
Doesn't matter. I'm saying if you served as president, how many times has your life been? Well, maybe George Washington was.
Yeah, he had
more
his
threats.
He was threatened way more.
But maybe not more assassinated threats.
Yeah.
Maybe though he was a general.
You got to think about Trump's first term as president. There was that. I know there was at least a couple attempts that went nowhere. There was the one when he was a candidate where the guy ran up behind him, and actually Trump turned around and he was going to fight the guy or whatever, but Secret Service had knocked the dude down. There was a time when he was president.
Wasn't that one in Phoenix?
I'm not sure where it was.
Because I know one was in Phoenix.
Had the most attempted assassinations.
Probably FDR, actually.
And then you have to think about the time when Trump was doing he was a president at the time. He was talking at the podium, and then they pulled him out of that room, and he came back and he said somebody tried to come into the White House with a gun, and Secret Service took him out at that time.
I remember that one.
Yeah, there were several during his tenure when he was president the first time. And of course, the media was pushing that. The media was, how many times do you call somebody
Hitler, everything under the sun?
Yeah, fascist, a dictator, this and that. That's like the guys that we serve down there. How many times have they said, "Hey, I want to"? Yeah.
It brings me to today's word, dictate.
Dictate.
How's my dictate in your mouth?
It's a tiny subject. Anyway.
Overblown, really.
Your dick's the size of a Tic Tac.
Overblown.
That's why your mom's breath's so fresh.
You feel like a stack of buttons, brother. But yeah, you look at all of these, like what the media did his first tenure, and I don't know if they're going to do it this time. I don't know if they can, because nobody trusts that media machine anymore.
Well, what are they going to do? They're going to give it Vance. Vance going to do the same agenda.
Yeah. And Vance actually may be a better president. I think Vance for sure in 28.
Yeah, I think. Well, we'll see. We'll see the next 4 years how he handles certain things, but more than likely,
do you think democracy is dead after this?
No,
they kind of destroyed a lot of it with. I feel like what they were doing at the end that was really not cool. Like taking the wall, the pieces of the wall, and trying to sell them for pennies on the dollar.
Not trying.
I thought he got it stopped.
No, they sold it, and then a company bought it and was going to sell it back to the government at like 2,000% increase.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Now
I get them fucking another one that turned up.
The state of Texas bought it instead, through another intermediary for like 5 cents or some shit, like per unit or whatever.
Yeah, it was a wild little thing that they tried to do there.
Yeah, that's treason.
Sedition.
That's more. You start.
No, you're trying to fucking steal from your people.
It's definitely theft.
Sure, but that falls under interfering with law, which is sedition.
That's killing people.
But taxation is theft. So, I mean,
if you want to be real,
it is theft.
Yeah, it's against the Constitution.
Did you hear that Ron Paul might actually audit the Fed now? We might finally get Ron Paul.
That would be nice.
That would be
Yeah,
nice.
That would be
taxation started after World War One,
Sure did.
and
No, it did.
Started in 1913.
The idea for Jekyll Island 1913, but it was enacted in 1917.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And it was in order to pay for
the
World War
war.
One.
It was a
Yeah.
temporary.
And then we kept it forever. And then we got into World War II and went gangbusters. So they're like, well, this is just a thing we do now.
and then we started like busting for alcohol and doing all that, and fucking paying like what, the ATF,
yeah, the tax
Beca-
stamps.
because they were like, oh yeah,
Well,
you gotta- and we had the prohibition,
Right. Oh
and
yeah.
shit. We went through all that, and
Well,
It's fucking
before
bullshit,
before
man.
World War II, especially, what had to happen for us to go to war was that our government had to get us to buy war bonds. They still did war bonds in World War II and stuff, but they didn't necessarily need it because they were taxing the people.
but then they made like weed illegal because they fucking started making alcohol legal again and
Right.
shit, and they needed
That
something
has
to
to
do.
do with paper, actually. William Rudolph Hearst
Wanted hemp.
No, he owned a bunch of newspapers and he owned a bunch of woods that was used for making paper, and hemp paper was going to be a competition to him. So he wanted to make the production of the fibers illegal. So he ran through his newspapers like villainizing Hispanics and Negroes.
Oh yeah,
That's what he did. And like, in fact, the reason we call it marijuana, the reason why we call it marijuana is because of that. He wanted to like connect it to the Hispanics. So that's why.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw commercials. I saw that fucking what was it called? It had
Like people.
the funny reefer man. Like
I don't
it was
know.
a documentary on
I remember
fucking
seeing the reefer documentary where people were like,
Yeah.
psycho.
Oh, Reefer
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah, reefer madness.
It's
1933.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you guys know I don't smoke pot. I mean, often, every now and again, I will with you guys. But the whole thing about it is, it's just I don't like to smell my heartbeat. But as far as like weed, I don't see a problem with it. For the I think it dumbs people down a lot. My personal opinion, but
Well,
I don't see why it would be illegal versus alcohol. You know what I mean?
do you really think it dumbs people down? Because I go out there, used to fucking smoke a little bit of weed, run out there and play some fucking basketball, hit every fucking shot,
Right.
just be laser focused.
Right. Yeah. No, I think prolonged, just like alcohol, prolonged alcoholism does the same thing. It kills brain cells. Anything you do in a capacity that's not self-regulated. I'm not talking government regulation because I don't believe in any of that. But like if I sit here and I drink 5 beers, conversation will probably get good. If I drink 10, it's not going to be great.
No, it
You know what I
starts
mean?
becoming running over each other,
And then
whatnot.
you prolong that through a series of years. Weed, alcohol,
know.
crack, anything will screw your brain up enough to where. I mean, how many guys have you known that have done methamphetamines for a series of years, say 10 years, and then they
that's
quit?
a whole
No.
different fucking
No, it's
chemical,
not,
brother.
But what I'm saying is, they do it for 10 years and then they quit, and then it's permanent damage.
I'll
It
be
is
honest.
a
The
whole
only,
different
the only
ballgame.
substance I've noticed where people abuse it and then there's permanent
One's
damage
using like
is wet
Drano
brain.
and other
Right.
fucking chemicals.
I get that.
One's like a fucking plant that you're using tar, and it's way probably worse for like maybe your lungs necessarily. I don't
Right.
know. In long term, I don't know.
But I've talked to a lot of people who smoked weed for 15 years, and they still have that. Yeah, man, what's going on, bro? Still that whole thing. So it's a over years of abusing anything. You'll fucking up.
Do you think I have the man? What's going on, bro?
Sometimes
when smoking, maybe.
Right.
Oh,
So what I'm saying is,
permanently, no, I don't think
you,
so.
You do it for a series of years, every day, all the time, and it does. Like I said, I've
Well, yeah,
I've
it's
seen
going to definitely alter your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was probably a lot more spastic. I was probably a lot more of an asshole. I was probably a lot more quick to speak, quick
Right.
to fucking do things, quick to fucking fight.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed my brain chemistry and slowed me down. You're right. But I think
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
No,
I
I
just
know.
said it's a thing.
I think you might be right, though. I think you're onto something. So I'm going to admit that I was wrong.
Yeah. that's when we said something stupid.
Retard alert.
I did because I had to admit that I was wrong.
But yeah, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it does change your chemistry. And
Absolutely. Everything does.
yeah, everything does for the most
Everything
part.
does. They say that antibiotics actually fucking can
It makes
put you in a
daddy.
depressive mood
Right.
for like not just like a little bit, but for like a long fucking period of time. And it can hit you later. It says like maybe down the road, like 6 weeks after you take fucking your shit and the antibiotics. Now for the next 4 years, you're just fucking pissed off.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I just wanted to cure my rash.
For $100 billion, would you suck a dick?
Of course.
Now that we established what you are, we need to get down to a reasonable price.
Yeah. How about $5?
It's kind of like, would you murder someone for the exact same amount of money? Yes. The answer is also yes.
It's not, one thing I believe in life is because I've done things where it's gone against my core.
I've
values,
certainly
my core
done
principles.
worse things for my core principles than sucking a dick, I think. I think so.
What's worse than that?
I don't know, as being a fucking criminal all the time for many years as a young teen and etc. I was a much worse person. I've done much worse things to people than suck a dick.
Huh.
Like, come on.
You've never heard of boys will be boys?
Right.
I mean, I stab people and shit, and I feel like that's way worse on the karma tree than
why?
breaking a principle.
Why would you do that?
Because it was a fucking pencil fight. We're stabbing each other.
And it sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
that sounds
justified.
reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a good reason to
You just walk up and say, I don't like this
Shank
motherfucker,
somebody,
and hit him in the neck.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's
yeah.
fucked.
ordeal.
Yeah, that's worse karma.
No, hey, so there was this
That
kid.
guy was looking
His name was like Adrian Fucci or something like that. And he was like, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old, and this 14-year-old girl, everyone knew everyone in town. It wasn't his girlfriend. He wasn't like raping her or nothing. He was telling his buddies and shit like, you're going to see. I just want to know what it feels like to like murder somebody and shit.
Yeah.
Took her in the woods and stabbed her like 100 and something times.
Right.
And they fucking like, he was the last one to see her and the only way they saw that was because of like someone's like camera footage from outside their house. And so they fucking were like, where was it? You were the last one. We saw her, you walking to the park with her this way, or the woods or whatever it was this way. And then we saw you running home later.
Right.
Like, and she wasn't anywhere to be found. Then we never seen her. So they had her in the back of the cop car, and he's like on Instagram or one of them social media sites.
Right.
Oh, I should block that out. He's on one of them social media sites. And he's like in the back of the car being like, hey, where are you? To this fucking girl, come out. Like, haha, and laughing in the back of the fucking cop car and shit. And then he wants to act like he's fucking crazy, like in this one fucking interview when he's like rocking back and forth.
So his reassoning was just because he felt like he wanted.
Oh yeah, he just felt like he wanted to murder somebody.
And there are people out
to
there
see what it felt like.
It's like psychopathy. It's a psychopathic behavior.
He was like 17, 16. I don't know.
Yeah. There's several stories about that. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever watch like Mr. Baldwin and stuff, but he tells stories online and whatnot on YouTube. And I'll tell you this much, man. Like some of those things, like there was these two teenage boys that ended up murdering girl and her boyfriend, and they were all supposedly friends and shit. And they put it on like social media that they're, oh yeah, check it out, this is what we did, and that's how they got caught, just because they wanted to see what it was like to do.
Yeah, that's crazy. What about those two kids, two brothers that murdered their parents, and then they were at the
Mendez
fucking
brothers?
The Mendez brothers.
Yeah.
And there's that fucking card where fucking was it a Knicks game? Maybe he was at. Maybe it wasn't a Knicks game. Maybe it was like. But there's a card, and the Mendez brothers are in the background sitting like this. And I used to have this card, and I can't remember what it was. This basketball card.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I
On
know
the
what you
court
mean. I know
after
what
they
you
killed,
mean.
like
After
the
they killed
day
their parents,
after, or a couple, like after they killed their parents.
I think they did that mainly for the money.
Killed their parents for the money?
Yeah, so they could get their.
I thought it was because they were like being abused, and it was all like a
That's
sexual
what they
whole perversion.
said. That's what they said.
But they were liars the whole time.
Yeah,
huh?
they were liars the whole time. Yeah, and I believe it was over inheritance shit.
It might have been
And who knows? That's
It's Mark Jackson's.
Mark Jackson. That was it. And what was it?
Here they are. You see them
Yeah.
in the corner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Show the camera. I
It
guess.
was Knicks, wasn't it?
New York Knicks, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just fucking.
You don't have
You
to
can't
do
see it
that.
on there, but yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'll pop it up.
Pop it up there. Yeah, Mark Jackson. I'll be down.
Yeah, I'll be.
Oh, it's only $29. I'm buying you one. I'm buying you one to put up on your wall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That'd be dope. I used to have it as a kid.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
sick.
a wild. That was a wild story. That I don't know, man.
This like the super nice one that's graded is $3,000.
Oof.
I'll take that one.
I'm
Yeah.
not buying you that.
Yeah, but
Dude, it's super nice.
put a
It's
tag
great.
through it, hanging on the wall.
Yeah, dude. An absolute scumbag.
I'll start playing darts with it. Try to hit
Hell
the
yeah.
Mendes brothers. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. Like I watched the documentary, but it could have all just been whatever.
Well, people
Whatever
are,
the media is putting out there.
yeah, people are weird anyway. I mean, people are very. It's easy to. Obviously, it's easy to coerce people into doing evil shit as well. Look at like, well, the guy with the fucking thing on his head, Charles Manson. Look what he did. He never murdered anybody. He talked
Everybody into
doing it.
So is that worse?
I don't know, man.
No,
Yeah, I would imagine
Because you're taking other people and you're captivating them,
yeah.
making them do it.
It's,
Because like in the law's eyes, if you actually like hit somebody, it's battery and it's like a
Right.
misdemeanor. But now if you intimidate them, it can be a fucking felony. It's worse than fucking battery actually hitting
It's
them. It's
assault.
scaring them.
yeah, like if I approach you like this, that's assault. I don't have to touch you.
It's conspiracy to commit murder.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
That's what it is.
Because
It's the same thing as a mob leader.
No,
it's the same thing as the government.
It's murder if you're fucking doing
Well,
it.
except they have the monopoly on violence.
Listen, you're the fucking pilot. They're the engine.
Right.
You're getting them to do it. It's synced down through you.
That's what
Shit
I'm
just
saying.
doesn't go downhill. It's being shot somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you want to lead it up to the asshole that's doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, does that mean that the people that actually committed the act are not liable because they were told to do it? No, we went over that. in
No,
Nuremberg,
no,
so-
they're absolutely.
No, they are. Yeah,
they're
are liable.
absolutely. They're absolutely.
should
But
be.
everybody's responsible.
Sure. That's
It
the whole
doesn't
point.
stop just here.
Right.
You got to go all the way up.
Yeah,
to the
I
top.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, that's conspiracy to commit murder, and it
That's
makes
the
you
same thing as
that makes
murder.
you accessory to the crime.
It's not just
And there's a thing called felony murder that if someone dies during a felony that you are involved in, you are charged
But
with
if you're
murder.
brainwashing, it's different than just talking into. Brainwashing is
Yeah.
premeditated.
The-
It's premeditated.
Cult
It's
leaders
fucking
and-
taking
Well,
advantage of someone already. You're training them for that. It's
Right.
premeditated. murder.
Absolutely.
So,
I
like,
think that's
it's
far
all-
worse than the act.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're putting people through psychological damage just
Yeah.
to get to the act in the first place.
Right. And if you've
Like-
ever been physically abused versus psychologically abused or both, you know that the psychological part of it is far worse than
Then
the
physical.
Yeah.
Physical is just like,
Oh, no.
that heals.
Yeah.
Psychological is like, fuck. Now you're like triggered off
Forever
everything.
fucked. Yeah.
What's going? Like, yeah.
And it takes
You know
a
what I mean?
lot to weed through that. I
I'm
can't
not
imagine.
saying that you're wrong on any of these fronts. You're completely correct. However, in American legal code, what is really judged is your conduct.
Right.
So regardless, you ordering a hit, if you brainwash them or just order them to do it, like if you're a mobster and you just order it and they do
Yes.
it out of respect of the
a
hierarchy,
RICO.
conspiracy.
then it's still conspiracy to commit murder either way. And like I said, if you do commit a murder and you are in concert with anybody else, they all should be charged with it. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I say, I mean, I think the moral content of that whole thing is just, you know, if someone's up there brainwashing people through drugs and sex and
Rock and roll.
yeah, you know, like he was, you know, MK Ultra, and we all
Right.
talk about that before, but Charles Manson had an avenue to go in and get LSD from
Jones dude.
from government labs. Government labs.
7 minutes.
He could walk in and get LSD and brainwash these people with it. And then, of course, MK Ultra. There's a lot of stuff that's been declassified that proves that our government was using LSD to.
Get people to fucking do what they wanted
Yeah.
them to do, manipulate them, and that's worse. But just
Yeah, it's, I believe it's worse too, and I believe the government shouldn't have. They shouldn't have the power to be able to do that. That's another thing that Trump was talking about in his speech today and yesterday through his rally was the freedom of speech is coming back, where the government's not going to get involved with us having discourse on these platforms. One thing Biden was doing, according to
Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, was
making them
coercing these people to take down our stuff.
yeah, and telling them they couldn't have that. And it's happened to me where
Right.
like I'd post something, I don't even know what the fuck I'm getting fucking banned for because I said a word that was
Yeah.
like
I remember it when you
you
sent that
know,
to me.
and I'm like, what kind of fucking word is?
Yeah.
You can't say that word.
Mhm.
They're like, nope.
Nope.
Like, and you can't say something. You have to say pew pew, or you have
Right.
to say unalive
Unaliving
somebody.
or,
Like when they unalived that person, and that's just like to me. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay. I just was getting directly to the point. I wasn't trying to offend people that were unalive. Like,
Right.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Fuck.
Well, it seems like in the last decade things have gotten really weird that way, where words are more important than the content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or than the action. Like I'm more worried about these kids going and unaliving people than the word unalive.
Right. Yeah. You look at like some of these platforms. You can't say.
And it doesn't help. You got to get them desensitized to this, so they're at the point where they're like, that doesn't even make sense. Why would we want to do it?
Well,
People don't like. We're not trying to go. Oh, that's fucking retarded.
Well, like on my Instagram channel, you can't. Guys, you guys know I do like news stories and stuff here and there. And if I say something about like an assault on a child or something, you can't say the word of it. It's got to be SA or this guy had this child.
Sam.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And I hope that gets better.
It needs to, and Trump has promised to do that. That's one thing that
I mean, there's a difference between
me
going and like putting people down specifically, like necessarily, but when it comes to like speaking facts and just saying the wrong words,
right?
That's a little bit okay. Now, if you guys want to put you out there to where, hey, uncensored content and censored content, and you have to pick what you upload, and you put yourself under the uncensored, but give us a choice.
Well,
Right.
Trump
Because if I don't want to hear that shit, I can move on to the next.
Yeah.
Trump was saying that, like, when he got elected, his speech after he got elected, he was like, Americans deserve to be able to have unfiltered access to information.
Yeah.
You should be able to opt into or out of adult content. Basically, nothing should be unspeakable in this society.
And he's absolutely right.
As long as you are not asking for violence. Which is obvious. It's the obvious American way.
Which means
of how
no
we've
like
done
hate
that.
crimes. You can't just be out there and be like, I don't like you of this race and that.
Well,
race.
that's not a hate crime. It's saying
but
do
like,
something to them is bad.
But
Right,
talking,
so
but talking in certain code is just weird.
Well, I want to know, like there's a problem with saying the N word and this word or that word. And the thing about that is when you use censorship to stop these words from being said in content online, I don't get to know who you are. I want to know through your speech and how you speak who you are. If you're going to drop an N-bomb to me, I want to know that you're that kind of person. If you're somebody who, hate speech is a made up thing.
Communist.
Yeah, it's a communist thing. Hate speech is bullshit. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's hate, and you can't legislate hate out of the society. You can't. It's impossible.
It's a human
They're
emotion.
They're trying to do it in Germany,
Like
with the whole World War II and Holocaust thing. You're not allowed to speak of these things. You're not allowed to have certain symbols and shit.
Yeah.
But the hate is still there.
Of course.
It's just hidden now. And I want to know who these fuckers are. That's why freedom of speech. You don't have to, the whole thing about
I'd rather see my enemy coming.
The reason, yeah, exactly. The reason speech is protected in our society is because it's the unpopular speech.
Also,
that's
too,
the most important.
It's to understand where
and it
where
works
everyone's
itself
at,
out because now if you go fucking run in your mouth and think you're some badass
Right.
and shit, someone's gonna be out there teaching you.
There are consequences.
Someone's
to
gonna be out
speech.
there teaching.
There are consequences.
Absolutely,
if
but it is freedom of speech is in our Constitution. You
if-
should be able
right.
to say what you want. Now, if you get punched in your mouth, you should
Right.
be able to also get punched in your mouth.
And
Yeah,
then also be worried about the consequences of, I guess I assaulted someone. And
Oh
now I
my
have
God,
to go to the,
Sam is a
now I have to
fucking
go to the-
leftist. I
now I
don't
have to
give
go
a
to
fuck
the-
about that.
Yeah,
I would
I'm
rather
just
take.
saying,
I'd rather take.
because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like if violence is violence, if the state does it or someone else does it,
weirdo, fucking weirdo. Dude,
I think
Sam.
I think if
Call the cops.
no,
Who does
the-
that?
if someone is fighting you in your house,
I don't think
I'd press
they-
charges on them,
why?
yes,
I
but
don't
in
think
public,
they're
no.
coming out of it.
'Cause-
I don't think they're coming out of the house if they start to fight. with
Good
anyone.
point.
yeah, that's
I don't
But
think we're calling.
you're
any
still
cops.
going to have to call the cops on that one.
Not necessarily.
Hypothetically.
Not necessarily. There's no law that says you have to do that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there is.
There's no law that says you have to call the cops if you
if you have an incident in your home, if you shoot someone dead, you don't have to call the cops. Really,
if you were protecting yourself, you do not have to.
I do not buy that whatsoever. There might be on the books.
no
There
law.
isn't law saying that, but district attorneys are going to do what district attorneys do.
Not if they don't find the evidence. Anyway,
But then you're concealing. Okay, that's a
but then
felony.
you're
Concealing.
concealing.
there's no
Yeah,
law.
I mean,
There-
they're concealing, John.
Sam, call the cops then. But I'm telling you, there is no law in I
Then
don't
you're
believe in Arizona or
concealing.
any other that you have to call the cops
Concealing a body, that's
for
a crime.
defending yourself in any situation.
If you already murder somebody, what do you give a fuck about concealing?
Yeah, see,
for?
if you murder them, then you don't call the cops. But if it's a legitimate shooting, you call the cops.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me, John.
You don't.
I just don't. I'm not seeing your point here.
So okay, so what? Okay.
So if somebody breaks
No,
into
no.
my house to do me bodily harm and I take them out, you think that I should always call the cops?
After you've taken them out, yeah.
That's wild.
No.
That's wild.
Okay, so what do you do instead? Just like bury the body, tell
Yeah.
no one,
Get rid of them.
and then
I
what?
don't- hypothetically, you would just
That's
figure
insanity.
it out.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
No, that's freedom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're